based on that giant, I'm going to say this is probably a handlock.
Good. Yeah, I think that you're right. You know, I think.
Yeah. Unless there's some kind of new archetype in town that I'm not aware of that plays Molten Giants. But oh my god, Savjz, did you draw?
Wow.
Keeper
Innervate
of the
Wild
Grove
Grove
for
Keeper.
Twilight. Yeah, this Keeper of the Grove is very, very important against handlocks. For those of you who may not be familiar with the matchup, Keeper of the Grove allows you to silence off the Twilight Drake, and if you're ramped fast enough, you can even use your hero power soon after. So at worst, it's a 1-for-1. And sometimes you even keep the body.
In this case, I think Savjz might not even use the innervate. Oh, never mind. He just got the second one. I wanted to say, like, when the Twilight Drake...
Wait, turn 4 scenarios? Into turn 5 Sludge?
Wow. Into turn 6 2 Savage Roars?
There's nothing on the board right now for Strifecro.
Oh,
if
wow.
there's a scenarios that comes out...
And there's no AoE to deal with those 2/2 treants.
It's not that terrible though, because the Mountain Giant will be able to come out as a follow-up regardless of what happens. But he has to keep his Zombie Chow, which means he can't deal with the trans. If Savjz takes advantage of this window of opportunity to get scenarios out right now,
I think he goes for it.
I mean, you could play Sludge and Scenarios next turn, but you're losing the massive amount of initiative. Like, your opponent is 3 turns away from a Siphon Soul. You have to... I don't know. Or is the lack of Savage Roar making him reconsider?
You have to think, like, Scenarios is just a Wars Dr. Boom, so do I want to pay 1 additional Innervate for a Wars Dr. Boom? And I
think right now I'm willing to do that, considering the handlock has absolutely no board, and he does it. A 2/2 on each side of that glorious Forest Lord. I'm not exactly sure how Strifecro is supposed to answer this threat in the immediate sense.
Yeah. And why don't we have Savjz's face cam? I don't get it. Like, he's training, right? So why don't we have his camera?
Savjz always has a cam in general.
I would like to see his reaction to a turn 4 scenarios. Like, imagine if that would be the other way around, and Savjz would see from his opponent turn 4 scenarios. He would be like, he's so...
he is very
so
reactive.
emotional, emotional, and his body language is like so tied to the game. It would be really crazy.
So Strifecro here is debating playing the Mountain Giant over the Twilight Drake. I mean, sure, this was an amazing play, but now he's got to look past it and try to figure out how to deal with it. And Twilight Drake deals with the Treants, but it doesn't really address the problem of scenarios. Whereas the Mountain Giant is weak to BGH and possibly a mix of Wraths and the Treants, but at least it kills scenarios, if anything.
Yeah.
So.
The situation is really bad for Strifecro. I'm saying for a whole year, Innervate is broken. It has to be changed.
A lot of people have been voicing their concerns with that card just because it allows you to ramp too quickly and too many times in a row sometimes. And this is pretty much a perfect case of Innervate just breaking the game. It's not the most common scenario, but it does happen sometimes in tournament settings. Like right now, Strifecro's ability to stabilize is just...
I think it's
very slim,
close to zero.
Very slim.
Close to zero. How can you deal, even if you deal with the 2/2s and 2/4s, how do you deal with a 5/8 creature when you, like, Siphon Soul is a whole turn?
Yeah, he was 2 turns away from it. So, in this position, what do you prefer? Do you prefer healing up with the anti-heal bot, setting up Sludge Belcher?
Well, Sludge
Belcher just develop...
Sludge Belcher just dies.
Yeah, it dies right away.
To creatures, and it just like soaks the damage, 7 points of damage, but that's basically it. It doesn't develop anything. It just delays the inevitable.
It soaks just about as much as the anti-heal bot does. So if Strifecro wants to play to win, he might have to play the Giant and force trades with bigger minions and hope that his opponent simply doesn't have Savage Roars.
Yeah.
Just like play as though there's no removal or there's no insta-kill, and wow. Well, that's not lethal, that's 8. I think he's 1-off. He's 1-off lethal.
When you do it, then it's Keeper next turn.
Yeah, but if you anti-heal bots, well, your stuff... Well, actually, no, you
do it. You do it because...
You have to do it.
Yeah. Even if he heals, you have still, like, two creatures on
Well,
board.
he can kill. Wait, he can kill the treant, and then he can hit scenarios with the giants.
Well,
I mean,
but
you
still
do
you
it,
have two
but-
creatures on board,
Yeah, you.
and
You're
there's
very
no
well
way, there's no way of healing and using Shadow Flame.
No, but you don't even need Shadow Flame. You just anti-heal bot, trade the zombie chow into the treant, kill the 5/8, and now you're back to 9 health, and the druid has no way to kill you right away. This is what I'm saying. Even if he does go for face,
How do you go back? How you mean with the? Yeah, okay, never mind.
he can definitely, solidify this board here. It's absolutely not impossible.
But still, it's a very, very bad position for Strifecro, nevertheless.
So he's gonna be back to 9 health here.
So that's 4 points of damage.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's actually a very important draw here. Getting even more damage in and forcing the handlock to get even more health faster than is possible.
And I think you have to push for the damage.
I don't know if Wrath is really... I guess you kill the giant to make sure that there's no...
Well, what about using Hero Power instead? So you push for 7 points of damage and you got lethal with Keeper next turn? I think that's more important.
If any healing comes up, though, you get demolished.
But what?
It is true, though. It is true. It is probably a safer play as far as damage output goes. That's the initial play I thought he would do. But he
Okay,
rats for card draw. Oh, that actually
that's
denies
weird,
Sun
yeah.
Furies. This actually helps him deny... If Strifecro decides to put down, say, 2 minions, like Lotheb and the Sun Fury, then MC Tech becomes incredible. Interesting. I mean, it's a pretty standard tech. It's something we've been seeing a lot of since GVG. Yeah, so he's committing to that face rush, and I think this is definitely the right way to go. I'm just surprised that he wrathed the zombie chow.
Yeah, I'm surprised too.
I guess he didn't want to steal it, but I mean, he saw only the MC tech afterwards.
Now he doesn't have lethal, because I'm sure he's aware that there's no way that Strifecro has no taunts in his hand.
Yeah, but MC Tech enables a possible lethal, but it's not nearly as guaranteed as it might have been the turn before. So, do you just Lotheb and Sun Fury Protector? Is there really anything else you can do to deny, the swipes and?
Strifer is reaching out for Lotep, and I think that's even better.
Well, that's what I was saying. Lotheb and Sun Fury.
Oh yeah, sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you said Belcher. Those creatures
No,
I like.
definitely.
No, that's way better.
Yeah, and that MC Tech though could really make this game a bit different. So do you use the 8/3 to go face, or do you kill the 2/4? Because he can still cast Savage Roar here on 8
I
mana.
think, knowing Strifecro, he will go face with both.
Okay.
But this might be a problem for him because if that mind control tech would take Lotep, it's game.
Whoa, is he?
Is it game?
It is game as no, it's not game.
Yeah, it is game.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is game with the 2/4. That's right. Never mind me.
Never mind. Yeah,
I miscalculated. That's right. He has game just with a single silence and hero power. How did we not see that? We should have called it GG like 3 turns ago. So this is it. The first game is going to go to Savjz. Using Druid successfully beat down a Warlock. I don't think Handlock versus Druid is exactly... I mean, Druid versus Handlock is not a very lopsided matchup either way. In general, if you're running Black Knights, you have a good matchup, but there were none. I didn't even see a BGH in Savjz's deck. What we saw was a mind control tech.
Yeah, but I'm betting that the Druid deck still has one big game hunter, but it's not neither anymore. It's locked. So Savjz has his mage and druid left, mage and rogue left,
Yep.
and Strifecro is now with a very difficult task ahead of him.
Well, Paladin Rogue, I think, are like the entire match. I guess if you run your Paladin into a Rogue, it's a bit problematic. But if Savjz has Mage or Rogue, you take your own Rogue. You're slightly favored against Mage.
I think you have to go again with Warlock, you know?
Warlock against... I don't know how the matchup really pans out against Mage.
Well,
I'm not exactly super familiar with it.
It's not so bad.
Okay.
You have many AoE, So AoE effects are just winning against mech mages, and that's I think that's the most important thing to get in, when you're playing as a handlock. But we just got information that Savjz will be picking his rogue, and Strifecro went with his paladin. This is the second time we see this today, right?
Yes, somebody's just blind picking Paladin and ending up facing a Rogue, which is unfortunately not exactly an amazing matchup unless you're running an absurd amount of healing. An absurd amount of healing.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're generally too slow to contest the board, and unless you get, pretty good draws, it gets really, really difficult.
That's very true. So, so the Paladin's game plan here is to get stable damage output on board, but this is, as we know, very difficult to set up against a rogue with the blade flurries and fan of knives with spell power and so on.
Yeah, you lose a lot of... Muster for battle is essentially a gift to the opponent unless you combo it right away with Quartermaster, which, if you're reaching that point of the game against a rogue, is probably not necessarily a bad thing if you've managed to stay alive, but at that point, if you're counting on the board to save you, they might just be able to burst you down. So we're looking at the mulligan right now. Both players are waiting to see maybe what the other player is playing, glean some information from the time that they take to mulligan. Rogue with Fan of Knives, I think you pretty much have to keep that and throw the rest away, and he does exactly that.
Oh wow, well, he's lacking an agent here.
SI7 agent or even Earthling Farseer would do along, even just, Violet Teacher, any minion, honestly, within below 4 mana would be good.
Yep. Especially with that piloted shredder.
Yeah, Strifecro's hand is on the slow side. Now he can stand in the light for 8 turns. Not too bad. I mean, if you consider it, it's not terrible.
Well, his hero power is basically challenged by Rogue's hero power, so it's a dead spot most of the time.
2 times over even. The only upside to that is that at least the Rogue has to redagger multiple times, more than she otherwise would, but because they usually take 2 recruits, the tempo loss that you suffer as a result is just as bad. And the worst part is if you do get a bunch of 1/1s, they can just, they just die to Fan of Knives alongside everything else.
Yeah, but do you do it? I think you have to do it.
You could play BGH because it's a rogue and you don't expect anything else, but it's not necessarily a really stellar play. Wow, he plays it! I am surprised, but I kind of threw that out there as a tongue-in-cheek comment, but it's semi-playable. It's just I'm not sure how amazing it is. So right now, Savjz cannot possibly be putting Strifecro on a muster for battle.
No. I think Savjz has 2 options here. It's backstep, just backstep and go for face for 1 point of damage and then hero power up again, or just deadly poison. But yeah, backstep seems to be much better.
Yeah, you get yourself a really nice dagger, completely fresh. You can use your deadly poison on a really good board and deal up to 3 damage instead of overkilling by 1 on that big game hunter.
Yeah.
Out comes the shredder. This is really those shredders are really important in general because what comes out of them is very, very crucial.
Yeah, I wanted to say that Death Rattle creatures are really dangerous for Rogue because the only option for Rogue to deal with those Death Rattle creatures immediately is sap, and you want to keep the sap for Tyrion. And as we can see, there are 3 threats in Savjz's hand. So Piloted Shredder, Piloted Sky Golem, and Tyrion.
Yeah, and Strifecro's hand, yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah, and Strifecro's hand. And Savjz will have to deal with every single of those, and he kinda lacks an answer to every single of those.
Yeah, and the interesting part is they're on curve as well, which is, oh, the irony. Hello, the 5-string leader. The interesting part is that they're all on curve, so 4 Shredder, 5 Belcher, 6 Kai Golem. This becomes really dangerous for the Rogue, because at every turn she has to deal with something new.
Is he debating of using the Eviscerate for the 2/2? Really?
I can't imagine he would do that when you've got, Fan of Knives, that you can just, you slap it on something else, or even a boring Blade Flurry. I mean, yeah, you could even just coin double Fan of Knives next turn after attacking with Dagger. There's so many lines of play that are better than this to get rid of a 2-2.
Yeah. Well, now every single creature has Death Rattle from Strifecro. This will be a major pain in the back.
A major pain in the back. Political correctness at its best. Nicely done, sir. So, he eviscerates the Sludge Belcher and lets it live, which obviously tells Strifecro that he's got the Blade Flurry.
Yeah,
there is
definitely.
no way Strifecro doesn't see that as a telltale sign that there is a Blade Flurry there. It's
like sending a telegram. Stop, stop Flame Strike or Blade Flurry. Stop.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, people have been donating it a little bit today. We got an extra $20 during this day, so thanks for the Child's Play Foundation fundraising. Really appreciated. So he preps Prince. This is going to refill his hand completely. And oh, this makes the Azure Drake makes the Blade Flurry even more interesting. The sap delays the 6-4, forces it to be replayed, which is actually a half blessing for Strifecro because he finally curves on turn 7.
Yeah. He misses a drop there.
So
Sky Golem will go down again.
Yeah, it's actually almost nice for Strifecro because he had nothing to play this turn, and by getting it sapped, he's kind of thinking to himself, well, at least it's not coming out on turn 7 where I want to play it and Tyrion. At this point, this is almost beneficial. And the Ogre Magi comes out. Uh-oh.
That's consecration for 3 points of damage, dude.
Yeah. You could actually burst the Rogue down at this point, almost.
Yeah, Crucible Champion is basically a damage.
Oh, do you oh no, there's too many risks of heal bots and Earthling Farseers. But I was gonna say, going on the offense, this at least lets you trade with the Drake. It's like, this is an exact mirror board, aside from the fact that one is a dragon. But this is, they both have the exact same ability.
Yeah. What about just dropping Tyrion here?
Tyrion trade or Tyrion face?
Tyrion trade.
Yeah. I do think that's pretty much what you have to do. Otherwise, you go for... Ooh. Oh, I'm so unhappy about this play, but I guess he doesn't want to get sapped again.
Well, there was a sap play, like, you know...
Yeah, but there was a sprint as well. You've seen, like, the Rogue has seen about half her deck. Okay. Is this just going to be a burst phase play? No way. Okay, he just sets up the True Silver before he plays Tyrion. Using the charges up before Ashbringer comes out. I honestly can't say I disagree with that line of play, because once Tyrion's on the board, you're committed to using Ashbringer for the longest time.
Pay attention, class.
That consecration is going to be welcome.
And there's a quality too, but will he use it?
I mean, against a rogue, when else do you use it? Are there many minions that are going to be equality consecratable? I guess you do have True Silver Champion and a 1/1.
No, I don't think you can keep that equality. It's only usable.
You can even use it with you can even muster for battle afterwards if you feel like it. But this is such a weird turn.
But imagine. Well, it's easy to say when we know the exact hands of each player, but that Tyrion on turn 8 would be so much better.
Yeah, but if you get it sapped, you're honestly...
But you have the equality consecration to put you back into the game.
And then re-Tyrion a few turns afterwards? I guess the burst is just... Strifecro must be afraid of something like a South Sea deckhand, perhaps. Maybe that's the reason he's playing the way he is. If South Sea deckhand comes out with Tinker's Sharp's Ord, and that's kind of the way Rogue works in general, they will hoard cards in their hand, and at the very last second, dump them all at once, and over 3 turns, take you down. It's not like... You almost go from 30 to 0 over the course of 2 turns, or 3 turns with the way Rogue works nowadays. They'll whittle at you a little bit, maybe for about 20% of your health, and then they'll just completely obliterate you over 2 turns. This looks like a really good Tyrion turn, but you could negate the damage.
Peacekeeper and Spalted Skygone, I think it's even better.
You negate the damage from Lothep, make sure nothing wrong goes on.
Oh.
Well, that's a clutch heal bot if I've seen one.
Yeah, clutch heal bot. That's the new name of the card.
Antique clutch bot. So, he's going to be able to recover a total of 11 health if he uses the Farseer, but he still has to deal with the Shredder, so do you just eviscerate that afterwards? get it out of the way, or do you set up a dagger for a massive Tinkers?
I think you have this already for 3.
Right, never mind. The Shredder comes back to life.
Yeah, you don't
Wow.
want to put something on board. It's just like denying 3 points of damage. That's not enough. So the outcome is the same with killing
with
the
your
for free.
guarantee. Mhm.
Yeah.
It is guaranteed guaranteed results.
So this turn.
Actually,
you-
I'm not sure what I mean, you can't afford keeping to go face because of what's on the board.
now
And
it's really
you don't
hard
threaten
for-
lethal.
Yeah, it's really harsh for Strifecro right now. The decision of not playing Tyrion is biting him back.
Well, it's a turn. He could play it now and just get the Ashbringer. It's still not too late. It's just less powerful because the Ashbringer is a bit late to the party. But if you set it up and you manage to get it to stick and there's no sap, and you lay on hands, you could still be able to at least make the game last until you find another consecration, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, Land Hands here is not bad, but as you said, you want to look for the second equality, and Tyrion might be just better, but then you are like committing to the trading part.
Yeah, he's committing to trading, but I think it's not that bad. But I mean, looking at Savjz's hand right now, the amount of burst in this hand is scary. If he sets it up and it goes off, this is
But there's no combo
very, very
for it.
scary.
There's no combo for it. So
Dagger up, Violet, Tinkers, and then you set it up next turn with another card if you want.
do you use the load up to pop off the
Yeah, you pop up the
pop
shield.
the
you-
divine shield? Yeah.
You pop Divine Shield, you Violet Teacher. Oh, then again, the problem with the Violet Teacher is exactly that. It spawns a 1/1 that could actually backfire. What if you attack with Lotheb, dagger up, double Tinkers, and hit face? That you don't have any more burst
Well,
afterwards.
you kill the Tyrion then.
Yeah, you do
So
with the 3/3.
So that's not so bad. But then Paladin gets 11, 12 points of damage next turn.
Exactly,
And what
and
do
you're
you do-
almost.
what do you
dead,
do
you're
with that?
almost dead. You can't do it.
Ooh!
Wow, that's a welcome card here for Savjz if I've ever seen one. The only thing that would make this better is a prep, I think. It doesn't get much better than this. Do you kill that Shredder now, or...?
No,
What
I think you
happens?
ignore the Shredder and just go for face.
Okay,
With
let the
the-
Shredder
okay.
shred.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
that's also a clutch card, but
Actually,
I
this
don't
is
think-
going to help a lot, because the Tinkers cannot be set up.
well, it can be set up with a prep, but
Spellbreaker, hello.
he has to reply to Tyrion. Like 2 steps were being played. It's still. Is it lethal now? No, wait, it's 20 damage. So prep, that's still not lethal because you missed the damage from the minions.
Uh-oh.
Deckhand. That's interesting now. So you pop
Whoa.
the divine shield with low tap. You
Then-
play
Deckhand.
you play deckhand and double. No.
Do you have to Tinkers
Nah,
first?
you
You can't, though.
You can.
I mean, I guess
so-
you go Tinker once, then you Southsea, then you trade, you do another...
You have a 50-50 to get the Tinkers on Farseer.
Oh, actually,
Then
it's
you
very easy. What are we doing? You just Tinker once, you trade Pop Shield, Tinkers once and twice, attack Tyrion with your Farseer, and then attack face and then Blade Flurry. But I
you-
guess you lose a lot of damage. from
Yeah,
that.
exactly. That's what I wanted to do, like to save damage because it's too crucial against the paladin to have the damage right now. Because you will be using almost every single card in your hand, and there's no replenish like waiting for you. So I think you go for the 50-50.
You hope that the
You
the
first
3/3 gets
divine
the
shield.
buff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's what he's gonna do, or at least try to do. No, he goes for the
Oh,
double Tinkers.
Okay, so he goes for your place. For your
Yeah,
play.
but I don't know. I don't know if it's exactly the most consistent. He just Blade Flurries, doesn't use his entire weapon
Oh,
charge,
okay.
keeps the 6/3, which I actually, you know what? That makes so much more sense.
Yeah, that's way better than
That is so much better than what I even said. I don't even know why. Oh, but Lay on Hands Iron Beak Owl is perfectly saturating the mana of Strifecro. Gets him back in the game, gives him card draw. He's got a Harrison on the back, found his equality in case the board gets out of control, and he can just kill that 6/3. by negating it down to 3 damage. Now 12 damage out of nowhere for the rogue.
What about just getting phase for 5?
I guess you could put him on a clock, since
Yeah.
he doesn't have any more tinkers. But if you're afraid of cold bloods, I guess.
No, no one plays this apart from Rotu.
Oh, that prep would have been so nice in a few turns ago. Yeah, but he was not prepared. You know what though? This board, no, I mean Strifecro can deal with it too effectively for it to be a real threat.
Peacekeeper even.
Do you just play it super safe and like equal? You don't even attack it with your face. But there's nothing to play around though. What are you even playing around at this point?
Only prep sprint, I think.
So do you just go Sludge, Aldor, and kill it? I guess that's kind of, yeah, there you go. Okay,
You're
so
kind of
that's
safe after that.
There's really no more threats coming from the rogue. She's exhausted all the fuel she had, and barring a prep sprint, there's nothing
he's
she
gone
can
phase.
do.
Okay. Also makes sense because it's lethal next turn.
Oh, Edwin, what's up?
Give up.
And
I
the
give up.
honorable Sudoku here from Savjz. So Savjz ended up losing his second game, although I do think Rogue is slightly favored in this matchup.
I agree with that.
I think this ended up not panning as well as he might have liked. Strifecro playing very well with his Paladin deck, so he's not gonna be able to use his Paladin again after this point because he's won. So they both have 1-1 game. It's 1-1 right now.
And it's
and it's
Mage,
best of
Rogue,
5.
and Rogue versus Warlock. So Mage and Rogue for Savjz, and Rogue versus Rogue and Warlock for Strifecro. And it can go either way. We can't predict anything here.
Well, if both rogues get picked, it's a 50-50, and I think that would be a nice one, because if you queue your rogue against a warlock, it's pretty bad. And if you queue your rogue, I think Strife has all the incentive to pick his rogue, because if it's mage, he's fine, and if it's rogue, it's a 50-50. Hence, Savjz, knowing that, will probably just pick his own rogue.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we just got the information. It's Rogue versus Rogue.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. So rogue versus rogue, those are kind of interesting. There's sometimes a few, the tree branch, the tree branch. What am I talking about? I was to say decision branch or something. The decision tree is pretty wide at specific key turns. So depending on how the game pans out, we could have some really interesting tempo swings.
Well, we know that Savjz is playing Edwin van Klep, and this might be one of the most important cards in this matchup.
I remember Savjz just going all in on Van Cleefs in a recent tournament. I forget where it was.
That was Seed Story Cup. It was like 12, 12 or 14, something like this.
Yeah, it was insane. It was like the biggest Van Cleef. He just went all in on it, and I think it paid off twice. Yep. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, Rogue has the option to sap the Van Cleef, and he will be then a sad Van Cleef, but we'll have to see. Maybe someone is using a Sabotage. Sabotage would be like the MVP in this matchup. But
that would be a crazy tech. I think even Assassin's Blade in Mirror Match Rogue, whoever has it ends up getting a really massive burst edge for the late game, unless either of them is unless the opponent is running anti-weapon tech, which is fairly unpopular right now. It's not something you see very frequently.
Yep, that's true. Oh,
yes.
Okay, so we'll be starting the game in a few seconds.
Yep. So the most important cards for the early game are probably going to be, getting those Earthling Farseers first. Ideally
Invalid
dodging.
Teachers.
Invalid Teachers to make sure that you get a big board, and force your opponent to have a prep Fan of Knives Eviscerate to kill it. Otherwise, it gets really tricky.
Well, Strifecro's opening hand is not so bad. I would just drop the Savjz deck and sap, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think those double SI7s, when you're on the coin, Strifecro in a Mirror Match Rogue gets a slight edge there. Being on the coin, getting an extra card is really important. It's almost not a drawback to be second as Rogue.
Strifecro has an insane hand. I think it's really great for the Mirror Match.
Wow.
Well,
Savjz's hand isn't too bad, but honestly, without a prep and spells, I mean, the Vile Teacher is cool, but there's very little to follow this up with.
He has one dead card. That's a very sad thing. And I really like Strifecro for not playing in early minion here. He just goes for, turn 3 Farseer, turn 4 Azure Drake turn 5, Azure Drake most likely.
Oh yeah, the SI7 agent is going to help a lot. I mean, you don't even have to coin because you as you said, your two Azure Drakes curving out perfectly with the coin is just completely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, if your opponent plays a 3-3, you just answer it immediately. But there's no problem with this. He can just attack the 1-1, even easier for him.
Blade Thrower will also be an important card, so the that's very interesting that right now in this type of rogues, the proportion of upgrades for your weapon are really higher than the Blade Fury, and that was not the case when we didn't have the GVG expansion. So having the Blade Fury early on is more important than having a Deadly Poison or Tinkers in this case.
You can get because you used to need Deadly Poison to do anything with it.
Yeah, and now it's in this situation, Strifecro can like plan accordingly to top decking a upgrade for his weapon.
How do you like coin SI Eviscerate? Well, I guess Lothab does the job even better because it locks everything. I mean, backstab trade is not even interesting here.
It's a good heads up play from Strifecro here, because just because when Violet Teacher is being played, most of the time the opposing rogue would want to spam some spells, and this denies this possibility.
Yeah, Violet Teacher is the new Gadsden Auctioneer of rogues sometimes. It feels like that. It comes even earlier, and it wins more against decks like Mech Mage, where you do get bodies to deal with it. In fact, I think in the late days of Miracle Rogue, they started to incorporate Violet Teachers and some bigger minions in there to make sure that aggro decks wouldn't just roll them over. And this trend has come back with Tinker's Sharpsword, which is pretty cool.
And second time today we see a backstab for 5 points of damage. I mean, backstab for 5 points of mana.
This one is much less appealing though, because Reynaz had a Deadly Poison to trade with, and this is just a Violet Teacher Suicide. I think an Earthling Farseer to trade with, which is much worse than this. And now Strifecro gets the initiative back.
Yeah, Azure Drake, windmill slam on the board.
Well, there is no Eviscerate, unfortunately, on Savjz's side to handle that Azure
there's
Drake.
a prep.
That is prep. Right.
Wow.
That is actually.
How many points of damage do you have here? You can.
Whoa!
Haha,
whoa! This is
prep.
dangerous.
Haha, prep, and oil, and then you still have like 4 points.
7. You hit for 14.
You can go without Blade Flurry here. You just go.
No, you just go double Tinkers, yeah.
Yeah.
But do you even have to though? Because the problem is you hit for 14, but you can't finish him off at all. You have no follow-up. Oh, this Eviscerate is definitely going to be... I think he can still do that later with the second prep, perhaps. Because he does have his burst in hand right now. All he has to do is whittle down the health of Strifecro just a little bit. Get it to a point where he can secure lethal over the course of about 2 turns.
But he's still battling for board control, so that's not the case.
Well, double Deadly Tinkers is pretty cool. Can you imagine that?
No.
This would be so crazy, but I think double Deadly Lothab next turn is pretty solid. Double Deadly Lothab is actually not too bad.
There's the Tinkers for Strifecro also.
Yeah. Lots of options for both players. I mean, Strifecro's hand with the South Sea deck hand could be used as an enabler, even if Lothab comes out to play the SI7s.
Well, what is he even thinking about?
Backstabbing his own Drake to deny the opponent's backstab, obviously.
Next level
tactics,
yeah.
Alright. Wait, is he on 9 cards? He is on 9 cards. If a sap comes out, there's going to be a card that's burnt. Oh, wow.
Will it be Leroy?
That'd be so insane.
Sap.
He loses a sap, though. That's going to be a tempo loss gain.
So he can't even reply that Azure Drake because he will be still at 10. And if he plays Thanos, it's the same outcome.
Yeah.
So he has to play those agents, I think.
So many options.
If he counts on drawing something, because if he doesn't need the draw, then you just rely on what you have in your hand.
I mean, yeah, I think. Wow, this is a mediocre position, but you could really just play this. There's nothing that feels good, actually. I can't even think of a thing. What if you just dagger, blood mage, SI? Put the Loatheb on 3. If he attacks blood mage with it, you then SI 7 it again, and if he attacks your SI, then you're fine. It's pretty straightforward, but
I think he just replays the Azure Drake.
and ends up with a full card again, full hand again next turn. I don't think that's really a thing. You have to play the SI and the blood mage, I think. Yeah. All right. Well, that goes down, and whatever happens with this board is going to be fine by him. Uh-oh. This is the
how much
piece
points
of
damage
burst.
is that? You can play 1 Tinkers and Eviscerate. And, sorry, Blade Flurry. So,
Do you really need to blade
5,
flurry?
7, so Deadly Poison, Tinkers, Blade Flurry, and Pirate, right? So that's 7 plus 8, so that's 15,
you have Loatheb to
17,
hold the buff. You don't
19. Well, you will be still having 1 point of mana.
No, it's Eviscerate. You just deadly, tinker,
Oh,
Eviscerate.
he has 2 Deadly Poisons, you're right. Yeah.
And you can always use the deckhand with the next tinkers. That would be insane. And now Savjz is just gonna go face, I think, and there's no reason not to. When you've got a total of 24 damage on board, I mean, he can do the same thing again next turn, except he starts with Blade Flurry, then spawns the deckhand, daggers up. Oh, he actually just Blade Flurries now. Alright.
Yeah,
Because, you know, why not?
24 points of damage, 1 turn.
And this game is over. There is no way Strifecro can stop this. He's dead next turn to a charging South Sea deckhand. Unless there is some mystical mind control effect plus Shadow Step plus replay Loatheb.
And 3 of life.
Exactly. Well, he is a druid player, right? He's a pretty good druid player. We could probably...
I think there will be like an honorable Mitsubishi next turn.
Yeah, I think the Mitsubishi is about to come out here. Yeah.
Oh, well...
I mean, he knows he can handle that Loatheb. What he can't handle is the hand of Savjz. We know he's lost. Strifecro is at least going to be trying to stay in this game on the off chance that Savjz's hand is completely dry of damage. There is no healing right now in Strifecro's hand, so he can't rely on
There's
that.
nothing you can do in this situation. You have to play the Blade Flurry this turn, but then you're dead anyway. Well, you can't really predict you're dead because you don't know what's in your opponent's hand, but
So
you play
based-
against Rogue.
Based on this, I suspect he will definitely just Blade Flurry the Loatheb off the board. He's trying to counter pressure, which is probably the right move here because you're playing to win. He could win next turn, assuming Savjz didn't have lethal right now. So I like this line of play from Strifecro, but ultimately it's not going to be enough. And Savjz is going to take that third game rather, away from Strifecro, going 2-1 in this series. So he's getting a slight lead, but it's not over yet. Oh, did he eviscerate himself? No, it's the BM.
what
Oh,
a
wow.
BM.
Wait, Savjz BMs? I have never seen Savjz BM in my life.
Is that not Savjz? Is that
This has to be
Someone
someone
else from Canada?
This is, this can't be him. There is no way this is Savjz.
how? That's the first time I see Savjz BMing someone. Well, okay,
Yeah.
Online.
This is the conspiracy cast. Welcome to King Win Conspiracy Cast, where every player you see is not actually the player you see. So I'm not sure. I just
Well, okay.
well, that's GG either way. So Rogue versus
Yeah.
Rogue, Savjz gets the game, and now Strifecro doesn't have to face a Rogue anymore. So the only thing he's got left to face is a mage.
Yeah, it's
So-
a mage, and Strifer has in his arsenal Rogue and Warlock, so it's not looking so grim for him. to
No,
be
I
honest.
think it's pretty fine. He could probably equalize the series to 2-2 and move on, perhaps to win the third game. The problem is, actually, Savjz still has his druid afterwards, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I know. I mean,
you're
he's
right.
gonna be sticking to his mage.
No, wait, he won with his Druid game 1.
Yeah, game 1 was druid. The second
Yeah.
game was rogue. So now the only thing he's got is mage. So if Strifecro wins with, let's say a rogue.
Well,
Or
he goes
Warlock.
Warlock.
Both matchups are positive, I think. They're slightly favored for him.
Slightly. The Warlock, I think, is less favored than Rogue, but he still has like insane amount of AoEs, so...
Depending on the amount of healing that he gets, this could be very different. And I mean, a Twilight Drake against Mage, honestly, is an amazing card.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where the card itself deals with Blast Mage fairly well. If you complement it with something like a boring Mortal Coil, you can actually ping the shield off an Oiotron even if it's still lying around. Dark Bomb takes care of Mech Warpers depending on how the deck is built.
Yeah, you're very right. But I don't know if every single player that's bringing Handlock is playing 2 Dark Bombs. That might be not the case. Like I see many players are taking out 1 Dark Bomb, but they are still playing 2 Mortal Coils.
Mortal Coil, I think, is more important. I think it's one of the most... it kind of passes under the radar because people generally don't look at it as this super important card, but it really helps with curving out and cycling faster through your deck to get those threats.
You can think of Mortal Coil like an additional spell power to a spell.
A Hellfire or something.
That's it, yeah. Well, maybe not to a Hellfire when you're dealing like with 4 creatures and every single creature has above 3 HP points, but most of the time that's not the case, and it's like only 1 Blast Mage there, and the rest of the creatures are just below 4.
Yeah, it's usually, I think, against Blast Mage, Hellfire is against Blast Mage, against Mech Mage, I keep swapping those out. Against Mech Mage, Hellfire is definitely one of those cards that helps you seal the board. So we're jumping into the game. Strifecro versus Savjz, the Handlock versus the Mech Mage.
So I think what Savjz wants to see in his opening hand is a perfect curve, and he might even keep a Fireball if he would have it in the opening hand, but he doesn't have it. So
yeah,
I think he will just keep the Anoitron and Tinkertown, because Tinkertown is just a really great creature against Handlocks because of its 4 HP.
Unless Zombie Chow comes out, it's generally almost... It takes too many actions, much like it takes too many actions against any deck.
He kept that's Frostballs.
What could that be for? Is he keeping...
Zombie
There's no way
Chow?
he's keeping us burned. Maybe to make sure the Anoitron doesn't die to Chow, but... I mean, he doesn't know that it's Handlock, actually. We spoke about that. We have no idea what this is.
No.
Savjz has no clue that this is...
He has the clue. The first game was Druid versus Warlock.
Oh, right, he won it. Never mind me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty irrelevant today. Alright, so he does have a Dark Bomb, not something you use right now. I think Sun Fury for a body is not too bad. There's an argument to be made for it against aggro. It's a pretty bad trade because you're trading a 2-drop for a 1-drop, but if you play Hellfire, you might fetch those. Well, there it is.
Tapping on turn 2 might seem to be the better choice here. And still, Anoitron is one of the best drops just to ensure that Tinkertown Technician will get the value, so the Hellfire will be not as good as predicted.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest problems actually with that card, and the worst part is if there are mechs on the board for Tinkertown, he becomes a 4/4 out of range of Hellfire, and suddenly the Hellfire doesn't seem as good. Now there's another Inoyotron as well in Savjz's hand, so this board is unkillable as far as Hellfire is concerned. This is a really bad start for Strifecro.
Something needs tinkering?
And,
Alright.
Oh, that's also important.
This coolant is crazy. Oh, goodness. This is a steamroll.
So...
Do you just
Strifecro
drop the Ancient Watcher and...
but you don't have a Shadow Flame.
Yeah, I know you don't, but you...
the Cogmaster?
I don't even think you can life tap anymore. I don't think you can life tap anymore. Like, you have a hand that is really awkward, and until such a time as you have some kind of board, life tapping is not really an option. Alright, so Ancient Watcher is going to take care of that Tinkertown, which I really like that line of play.
Goblin Blast Mage on turn 4, insane value.
And it actually has 1 health, which lets the Inoyotron hello it to death.
This is also important because now Hellfire will kill the only mech on the board, and there's the Mortal Coil.
Incredible. Alright, so this is exactly what Strifecro was hoping for, allowing him to kill the Blast Mage with Coil, which is exactly the reason we were talking about it earlier. And better yet, next turn he can actually drop, if he takes any damage at all, he can actually drop the Molten Giant, quote-unquote, for free.
And he can still drop the Defender Argus for that.
Yep,
Well,
he can do that next turn if he wants. Or do you have to Dark Bomb the Mech Warper? I think the problem with Dark Bombing the Mech Warper is that you really can't put anything else afterwards. Unless he gets Sunfear Protector, then oh,
I
whoa.
really like the decision of Savjz going full nuts.
Yeah, because I mean, the other thing that he could do is have another Hellfire, but
Yeah,
what is
or
the
Shadow
likelihood of
Flame
that?
with Ancient Water, but he already saw one Ancient Water. So I really like this decision.
I kind of like, just a straight up Defender of Argus on the Giant, because honestly, the answers that Mage has means that it's mostly going to be Fireball. Some Mage variants on ladder do run stuff like Polymorph, but in tournaments, you don't see too much of it, I'd say. Like, the more consistent lists don't run it, and so this Giant is either going to eat a minion, plus a ping, plus a Fireball, or everything that the Mage has.
So Savjz probably gets a Mirror Entity here. Do you use the Frostbolt here to kill the...
Mirror Entity is great for Strifecro. You play Zombie Chow, and then you get yourself a Dark Bomb on it.
Yep.
Pretty good
Basically
heal.
puts Strifecro in a really safe spot.
Yeah, especially with that anti-heal bot as a follow-up.
Well, you have
All
to
is
take
not yet
care of
won,
that.
though.
You have to take care of that Giant anyway, so I think he will use the Frostbolt.
Yeah, you might as well, honestly, because you can use the shield from another Tron if you want, because trading the Mech Warper away, yeah, I mean, it's slightly more damage, so might as well do that.
Still, the Mirror Entity Zombie Chow, I think it will be played this turn.
Is there a reason not to do it when you're low on health? I mean,
I don't think so.
The only reason was if you're suspecting Counterspell, but the only person, as I said, I've seen play Counterspell in Mech Mage has been you. And even when people know you play it, they still don't play around it, because it's still unlikely either way. Strifecro's considering his options, thinking, maybe I could just play a heal bot here.
Or Sludge Burfer.
Yeah, I think that's actually not a bad idea. Like, you have options to mitigate damage that aren't necessarily preventing you from developing the board. So this line of play is probably a bit more sturdy.
Strifecro didn't draw any of his really big threats like Dr. Boom or Antonidas, and I think like Antonidas would mean the game here. You would get 3 fireballs.
What to do? What to do?
Well, you just Loatheb.
Well, you're right.
But he would have a bunch of fireballs, but I guess the problem then, I mean, I say that like mockingly, you just Loatheb, but you really can't, because either way, even if he stopped for one turn, he still has 3 fireballs in hand and burst and burn in his deck. So how realistic is it really to expect Loatheb to steal the deal? So there's still a lot of health gain potential for Strifecro in the next few turns. Oh, the time rewinder on Zombie Chow to prevent the healing on the Warlock. You know what? This is actually awesome. I am loving this. He's putting Strifecro on a guaranteed block. Very nicely done.
Well,
Swagneros.
Well, I think
Nah,
that's turn
just
for Healbot.
Yeah, there's no better
and
turn
Dark
for Heal.
Bomb.
Yeah,
Use
Heal
the
bot, Dark
Zombie
Bomb,
Chow.
wipe the board.
Yeah, use the Zombie Chow to kill the Spider Tank. Dark Bomb for Mech Warper, and you go face with Defender Vargas.
Yeah, Strifecro's got a really nice follow-up as far as counter aggression goes, but if Savjz gets one of his big threats, and by that I mean, Dr. Boom, or, well, Dr. Boom is answered by BGH, so essentially Archmage Antonidas is probably the only real big answer that he's got to anything. The decision to keep the Zombie Chow here is probably motivated by the fact that there are 2 attack minions in the Savjz's deck. Still hoping for that Archmage, which would probably almost win the game there if he does get it. Oh, Coil. Right on time, sir. Coil Rag is insane pressure.
Strifecro has some really clutch top decks here.
Yeah, he taught like the first Mortal Coil
That
against the
was so
Blast
important.
Mage. It really was.
Without that Mortal Coil, that was not possible to clear. It was not possible to clear the board. So that basically almost won him the game single-handedly.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, even if Archmage comes down here, and he might still be hoping. Savjz might still be hoping for the Archmage, but we know even if it does come down, the Loatheb is just going to lock it out of usefulness. Well, Swagneros is
That's the
actually
game.
is there No, there's no lethal yet.
Yeah, it's 50-50.
It's 50-50 to win just right now. So and yeah, Lalota, if anything, steals the game right now. That's probably it. Well, let's flip a coin. It doesn't really matter. This is a no arm situation. Flip a coin. Ragnaros takes the game. So really well done here by Strifecro, equalizing the series 2-2, which forces him to move on to his rogue, and Savjz has to stick to his mage.
Yeah.
So rogue versus mage, it is, as we said earlier, slightly favored in the rogue's favor, depending in the rogue side, depending on how the deck is built, how it's played, and whether or not the mage gets a massive snowball effect, and you can't find AoE.
Well, in my eyes, if Rogue will get the Blade Flurry, he most likely will win. Without the Blade Flurry, he will most likely lose.
Yeah, that's probably it. I'd say that's probably the key card for this matchup. Now, whether or not you're going to mulligan hard for it depends on, on you. But I suspect since you have, 4 activators for the Blade Flurry, it suddenly gains a lot of value as a standalone card to get earlier.
Yeah. Well, and interesting enough, that's the first match today that is not a 3-0.
That's right. We had three sweeps today. This is the first 3-2, and it's the longest we can get. 3-2 is the longest you can get in the best of 5. So whoever loses this last game is still going to get 2 tiebreaker points, which is going to put him pretty much the further ahead possible, even as a losing player in a series.
Definitely. So, it's still the first round of the whole tournament, so it doesn't really mean much, but for Savjz and Strifecro also, this is one of the toughest matchups in the whole league. So yeah. I bet they both really want to win this.
Yeah, this would actually be pretty nice for them. So if, well, I don't know how much I favor Rogue in this matchup, really. I mean, I think they're slightly favored, but not also by too huge a margin, sadly.
If the Rogue will get coin, it's also really important. Really important. What the hell is going on with me today?
Yeah.
So we'll be jumping into the game right now.
Yeah, we'll have. I mean, Mech Mage versus Rogue. If you can get it, how important is Mirror Entity in this matchup? Do you think? I'm actually curious to
against Rogue.
Yeah, what do you get from it, really? Besides
most of the time, it's just a free minion.
Okay.
But as well, Rogue is only playing 4 minions that are like below stats of a Violet Teacher or Azure Drake. Well, 5 because there's Thanos too, and 6. It's obstacle. Never mind. That's quite a number. So I think Strifecro will be saving the deckhand just for the occasions when there will be the Mirror Entity.
Yeah, because it doesn't come with the buff that, you give it with Tinker's Sharpsword. And he is on the coin, actually, with this Rogue. This is going to be very important turn of events for him. And, coin with SI7 as a top deck is almost godlike.
Is he playing the Savjz Deccan on turn 1, really? Wow. I didn't see that coming.
Maybe he wants to deal with the Neutron with a dagger to keep the coin for later?
Well, now that Savjz didn't use the Neutron, the Cogmaster will be just dead to the agent. So that's a really heads-up play from some Strifecro, but I didn't think that Savjz will fall for that and lose the tempo here.
All right. Well, Rogue is in an actually pretty decent position. If these mechs get dealt with, and they will be dealt with.
Yeah, fan of nice. Even without the backstab, it will be so easy cleanup for Strifecro here.
Mm-hmm. And these blast mages are essentially 5/4s for 4.
Which
Ancient
is similar
Brewmasters, essentially. Yeah, Paladin Shredder, however, is a much better option. It kills something, but again, it will be dealt with. Most of the time in this specific position, this card just doesn't stay. A prep would probably be amazing for Strifecro. Violet Teacher, prep sap, and just establish board dominance, but it's still really good.
I think he will either just play sap, or just play Violet Teacher, sacrifice the agent, and hope for a 3-2. Well, first things first, so he will sacrifice the agent, if that's his plan.
Yeah, you would see that if like most of the minions that spawn off of that could possibly be killed with backstab. So I could see that line of play make a lot of sense. Oh, if this is a Doomsayer though,
Yeah, well,
this is
could have sacrificed
okay.
it first.
Slight error, but I mean, do you really play again around like a 1 to 68?
Well,
chance, really?
he's playing around 2 to 68. Well, actually 1 to 68 because Mana Wrath could have denied the Valid Teacher.
Valid Teacher, right?
That's a perfect
Alright.
draw.
This is a crazy draw with that Earthling Farseer. Talking
Yeah.
about a combo enabler. Even spawns an extra 1/1, and there's still no way for the Blast Mage in Savjz's hand to be enabled
And
to
he
clean
plays
up
two
those.
Annoyance Ones and one Clockwork Gnome. So the amount of mechs is getting thinner and thinner in Savjz's deck.
He's
No
gonna play the
value.
Blast Mage without any battle cry value. This is probably not what he wants to do.
This is looking really grim for Savjz here.
This is what we were talking about earlier when we said that Rogue, once it gets the foothold on the board and manages to establish board presence, is really hard to shake off because they have the tools to just negate everything that you do.
Yep. And now the sap on Goblin Blastmage is also a cool trick. There's no
Yeah,
way.
it's not like he's got a mech,
Yeah.
right? He's kind of shown that before. Funny enough, the Rogue has the mech in this matchup. I find that excessively ironic.
What's the top deck?
Not a mech.
Fireball. Awful. One of the worst pickups in this scenario. Oh!
This is crazy. Oh my goodness.
Will he sacrifice it now? I don't think so.
Just do it and then ping the teacher next turn. Does it really matter? Oh, this is insane.
Well, it would
If he
matter
finds
because
a mech off the top, that Blast Mage could be enabled. I cannot believe this explosive sheep. This is not.
you know, maybe he should have waited one turn just to like deny Strifecro ability to replenish the board with the 1/1s, but fortunately for him, there was no spells in Strifecro's hand.
If a mech
And
is
then,
found,
there's the mech.
Oh no, that sap will not be good. Strifecro must be biting his fingers right now. That sap bringing back the Blast Mage, telling Savjz, I'm gonna give you a second chance.
Oh,
But
that's
it
really
fits
unfortunate.
almost completely. Almost completely. But the curve, look at this, this is perfect. So, do you keep the Clockwork Gnome for the
Is
two
it
Tinker
lethal
Towns?
next turn? Is it? I think it's lethal.
8?
5, 8, 10, 11,
Actually, yes, it is.
14. No, that's
Dagger,
14.
deadly.
And yeah, that's 17 points of damage.
Well, still
Oh,
a
and
pretty.
Blade Never mind.
Just to seal the game. So this is. I mean, that explosive sheep was. I mean, if the Blast Mage had hit the 3/1, would he live?
No. He would
8,
still die.
6, 14. No, he was still dead. To, actually, no, he wasn't dead.
He
If
would
the
be
3/1 had died, he would be. No, he would be alive.
dead. Why? Oh, right, because the Blade Fury had no value.
Yeah, I'm not saying he would have lived one more turn after that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
He would have. He would have.